Hello, thank you for joining us here today. I'm going to refresh some of the things that we had in the last video, but halfway through the video, the sound was lost. Thank you to Kylie in Oz there for letting us know about that, and thank you to Aaron also for making a comment, about some of the topics that we had talked about. So I'd like to share or review some of those topics today, which is about Reiki and the origins of Reiki itself, and also how Reiki is with the medical professionals around the world, also about insurance health coverage with Reiki, the Reiki lineage, and how Reiki is also in Thailand. So let's start off with Reiki and its origins. Well, Reiki was discovered in Japan by a Japanese man called Master Yasui. He was also, quite a scholar into Buddha's teachings. Had to study also the Sanskrit and Pali. So from the Vedas, the holy Vedas they call them, from India. So Master Yasui had accomplished a method by a meditation he had, or a vision or a download, we would call it, he had, to find out about a method to heal the body. So in simple terms, in Thailand here, we would call that an energy transfer therapy. So Reiki is vastly different to other methods such as Qigong or meditation practices or psychic healing. And there's many forms of energy healing arts these days, including ceremonies too. So Reiki came from Japan. It was the only place that, it had actually, or the method itself actually was developed. It's not in any other nation like some people may think in Tibet or whatever it happens to be. After speaking to some Tulka about this from Tibet, it became very clear that the people's perceptions of what Reiki is, being an energy transfer therapy, and also here how the energy is drawn upon and how it's being transferred, is what makes the method of Reiki very unique. So I'm thankful for Master Yasui from Japan for introducing that method into the earth plane. So Reiki is also recognized by medical professionals around the world. From my personal experiences in Taiwan, became very clear that the medical professionals, even professors in Taiwan, maybe because of their culture, has a deep insight in relation to meditation practices and how it affects the body energetically, what it means to have congested energy in the body, also possibly even the frequency ranges of those congested energies in the body. There's a deep cultural background and understanding with acupuncture, with the meridian lines, whereas, other nations have also had that knowledge for thousands of years, such as in India, with the Mama points and the 72,000 nadis, or in Thailand here, where the energy lines are also different to the meridian lines that most people refer to in the Chinese method, which is in Thailand here is known as the Sen lines, 10 Sen lines. Then Indonesia has a different method also. So a lot of these Asian countries around here have deep in their healing arts, massage therapies, and also the traditional knowledge that goes with those sciences. There is a deep understanding about energy within the body and around the body. And all of those methods are also recognized by the Ministry of Health in those nations. So when we're getting into the knowledge of professors and medical doctors, for an example, they have a large interest in these areas, but they have an understanding also about Kundalini syndrome, the adverse effects of raising the Kundalini energy too quickly. There's a lot of knowledge in many aspects of energy work in this part of the world. So, they have a large interest, but they're not really, what could you say, that they're well educated, they're well understood about this. So when it comes to like a method of Reiki being an energy transfer therapy, they're looking for really good quality information and who can really support and bring across that deeper understanding as an energy science that affects the functions of the human body. So it's been a pleasure over in this part of the world to meet and also work with some of these people with research too. Insurance and health coverage, for an example, every country is quite different in the way that they view it, especially the ministries of health in those countries have the full control about what is acceptable and what is not. So, over in the UK, I find it quite fascinating that they're just looking at public liability and professional indemnity for professional therapists that are working in the field, maybe being self-employed. But there's also other countries that are covering therapists or people who go to therapists for treatment, and it is reimbursed on their personal health insurance too, as a professional therapy in alternative healing methods. So this is different from one country to another, but Reiki is a very widely spread and used technique in the alternative healing ranges. The Reiki lineage, well, I find this quite fascinating. I have personally trained 220 masters, and the interesting thing about this is when and 220 masters and 29 teachers, which there's a difference between level 3 being a Reiki master and also being a Reiki teacher. They're two completely different points. So even the 29 teachers that I've trained in Reiki, they will change and modify things to for their own personal reasons or beliefs. So I find the lineage concept not being acceptable by any means at all. When people are looking for that Reiki lineage going back to Master Yasui, whose teacher, for an example, on a piece of paper going back to Master Yasui, believing that there's some understanding there that, it would be a true method, or what are those guidelines of, how many attunements a person has, the method of the attunement, what are the symbols, all these different types of things that are, in the educational curriculum, if you like to call it that, for a person who is studying Reiki. But what I do know that there's been a lot of changes over the years, and I think a lot of knowledge has been lost in relations to the understanding of energy transfer therapy as such, like in Thailand with the government, looking at how the energy is drawn upon. I mean, that takes a little bit to understand and digest too. Then on the other hand, how is the energy being transferred? This is a really important key point too. This sort of distinguishes the differences between the different methods in energy healing. So, even with Reiki, there's no standardization about what that could be or should be. Even in Japan, for an example, where I've spoken to numerous Reiki teachers, I've also taught in Japan, that, the lineage concept is just not even valid by any means, and it means absolutely nothing. But still, at the end of the day, I believe that, it's a good idea to put in an evaluation of competency in place, which I had developed some maybe 12 or 13 years ago now, where it is possible to do an evaluation of competency. I mean, as being a teacher, we're looking at some things that are very important to determine the competency for each level for those people who are studying Reiki. So it can be very comprehensive in relation to what is the assessment criteria for somebody being deemed competent. but only a competent Reiki teacher would be able to make that assessment, because we're dealing with things that, such as how many spirit guides does a person have when they're performing a treatment, how well is the relationship between the therapist and the spirit guides, because it's the spirit guides that are sending the larger spectrums of frequencies through the human body to be transferred to the client. So only a specialist or a teacher in this area would know that information. So I hope this short clip can fill you in a little bit more. If you would like to have any questions, please ask. And I have a lot of other things that I'd like to share about in the coming days and weeks. Well, thank you very much. Have a beautiful day or evening. Bye now.